Yep.
Hi, folks. Welcome to episode 4. This is actually episode 5, isn't it, of the GSP Podcast? But episode 3 didn't go out because we had a lot of technical issues. So, yeah, we might come back to that another time. But for now, we're on to what's actually episode 5. First one is the new year, and we have a couple of lovely topics to talk about. We kick right into it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of these are actually from one of our members, Tim O'Donnell. He put a list of questions together for us, and we can't go through them all in one. We just picked a couple out to start with for the year. And the first one is how to save a bad session. So, who wants to kick this one
I
off?
recently had a
Recently,
something like that. So my last log session, just my technicalities on the log just weren't really going well. It wasn't being able to lift weights that I know I'm capable of doing. Very frustrating. Got very, very frustrated and annoyed over it. But it just took a few moments to myself to kind of relax it. But then I still hit the accessories hard and still done my conditioning hard as well. So even if your compound lifts don't go as well, it's no harm in like pulling back and actually then just like hitting the accessories like proper then.
Yeah. So I suppose the thing you could do there in a session like that is like you're kind of fresh back into log. You haven't been doing much log, especially with a push press for a long time.
Yeah.
So the easy thing to do there, if you can't hit your weights, is just pull back, work your form with a lighter weight.
Yeah.
And then drive on your accessories and your auxiliary movements, and you'll get stronger doing them.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like we all know, our technique is way off. We're not going to be hitting our best numbers.
Yeah. I think it's more of an ego thing. Like when you feel like you should be definitely doing more than you should, but you just got to be a bit realistic. It is frustrating, especially being an athlete, but it's part of the process at the same time.
Ayshea?
I suppose there's different ways of I see of approaching this as well. It's like what constitutes a bad session, a bad training session? Is it something that's gone wrong during the session, or you're going into the session with a bad mindset because of whatever's happening outside, or you're injured? And I suppose that's where I find it a bit different, and I would be approaching it differently. So if it's a case that you're coming from an injury or something's been going on outside, it's kind of there's drama and stuff, we tend to say like this should be your time of solace anyway. So leave the drama at the door and come in and focus on that session. That should be your therapy.
Yeah.
In one respect, but it's sometimes easier said than done. But I think taking everything on as a bonus, especially if you're coming in from an injury or you are injured and you're going, right, okay, I'm not sure how this is going to go. This could be a bad session, is to flip it on its head and say, right, we're going to take it as it comes. And we're going to get through the session, and we're going to take every exercise or every movement as a separate thing. So if you can get through your top sets, that's a bonus. If you then get through your next set of accessories, bonus. If it's mid-session, the guard dogs. If it's mid-session, I think that there's something like you said there, something goes wrong. It's sometimes easier if you are a more experienced athlete. Because you can turn around and go, this doesn't define my whole training period. But if you are a newer athlete and you are not as seasoned, it's that little bit more difficult, I suppose. But it's just telling yourself, okay, this is not the be all and end all. This doesn't determine how good my overall ability or overall peak or whatever is going to be affected. So that for me would be the way of looking at it, is try and flip it on its head, go into it with as positive mindset as you can, take every step as the bonus. And if a session doesn't go the way you had planned it to, that's it, it's done. Park it, learn from it, see what you can take from it, and then continue on to the next session.
Good way.
So for anyone that's not watching on YouTube, I had to run away there. So the postman came to the door and our dogs were barking. So what did I miss? Is it basically that?
More or less,
This is what you said at the end there, is it?
Well, not repeating it, because
oh god.
basically
I'll have to listen to the podcast.
But how you approach the session when you go into it, and being experienced rather than novice, and understanding that it doesn't define your whole training cycle. It doesn't define
Yes.
your whole abilities.
Yeah, we say that all the time. I mean, like, if you're pressing twice a week and you have a 12-week training cycle, that's 24 sessions, right? If that's your set block for that competition, say. If you have even 2 bad sessions or 3 bad sessions, you still have 20 to 21 good sessions.
Yeah.
So you can't dictate the whole cycle isn't dictated by a couple of bad sessions.
Yeah.
And like with Cillein earlier, he didn't just say, oh, this is fucked now, and leave the gym and let everything go to shit. Push the accessories really hard the last day.
Yeah.
So that you're getting stronger doing that.
Yeah.
You don't just fucking say, oh God, this is terrible, and storm out of the gym like a baby. Like,
or even like on the Wednesday with my deadlifts were slow, but still managed to do my working numbers. And even though they weren't moving as fast or powerful as I'd like them to be, I feel like even if you're like still feeling fatigued, you can go in and you still get them done regardless of like how quick and fast they may move. You're still gaining strength by putting yourself into a situation when you're already fatigued to win and train. So it's kind of like you're still gaining strength.
And like another thing to remember is, well, your body doesn't actually know what weight it's lifting. So if you are going to the gym and you're very fatigued and you're to hit a heavy set of 5 today, right? And you have 300 in mind for your deadlift, right? But you can only do 280, but it feels like a 5 RM. Your body doesn't know what weight you've lifted, but you've now stressed it with a really heavy load for reps.
Yeah.
So you're still going to adapt and grow from that. It's only your mind that's now going to hold you back next time you go into the gym and say, I'm not feeling strong because I couldn't push 5. Yeah. Your body's still going to adapt and get stronger. People don't really realize that.
I think there's a flip side to this, though, to understand, is that when we're saying is don't, pull back if you have to, or, don't, like, every session can't be that way either.
Yeah,
it can't be used as a
because you get a lot of people then they just kind of they get something small that happens, like, oh, I better pull back from the gym, and like
everything's a drama. So.
Yeah, I feel like it's good, like having the experience to know your body and know what you're capable of, and like knowing when to push and knowing when not to push. And I think that's like when having a coach makes a big difference, because there's been definitely, if I didn't have when I was younger training, there was definitely days where I was going in, should have been like pulling back when I was like extremely fatigued, but I was just doing stupid shit. And those are days when I was just like being lazy and just kind of like using like bad things as an excuse. Not to push it.
I like back to the example earlier of Cillein having the bad log session. Like, he's very early in a training cycle, so actually technical mastery is important right now.
Yeah.
So for him to peel back that session and work on technique would have been ideal. But say you're at the end of a training cycle and you're really fatigued and you have to do a big deadlift or a big squat. It doesn't matter how you feel, you still have to do that. If you're 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out, and it's one of your last heavy lifts, you kind of still have to hit it and just hit what you can that day. Because again, you're trying to give your nervous system and your body that
last shock.
That last shock, so you can adapt from that. And even if you don't hit them numbers, it doesn't really matter. I know tons of times where people in here haven't hit the last number they're supposed to hit on their big lift, but will absolutely explode past that in the competition when they're fully recovered a few weeks later. But if on that last session they just went in and worked technique and didn't do anything heavy, probably wouldn't happen. Your body doesn't adapt and grow from that.
This is where it's important as well about having an effective like building phase and not being like lazy and you're like, quote unquote off seasons that you shouldn't say. But again, like, if you got a good building phase and like, you have a bad day coming through your training cycles, then like that building phase will carry you through those bad sessions. Like, so it's not going to be as detrimental as if like you're just being lazy over the Christmas and then had a bad session, then it's going to hold you back a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and look, we have some of our own that didn't do what they were supposed to do over the Christmas period when we broke as a team for December. But now getting ready for comps, and it's like, God, you can't afford not to have, even a tweak where you miss a few days, like, because you haven't done the work, base.
Worse again, though, is that some of those people are very new still. They don't have.
That's another story.
They don't have that base that I or you have, and not that excuses laziness or whatever, or thinking we're taking off season, but what they don't realise is they may see that you or I might be able to pull back because of whatever genuine reason, but they don't have that luxury because they don't have that.
They don't have the base. They don't have the years and years.
And we spoke about that before about having that base, and I think that's what people need to understand is you can't look at somebody who is 4 or 5 years ahead of you. In terms of training, and
do what they're doing.
I can do that,
totally.
Or I should be doing that.
They need to look at what you did when you started.
Your
first 2 years.
It was. So I think if anyone's listening and you actually meet somebody who's more experienced, don't ask what they're doing now. Ask what they did to get there, because they're two completely different things.
There's a couple of good strongmen in Ireland right now as well. Who, like, you might look at what they're doing now and copy them. Like, just 2 people that come to mind right away come from bodybuilding: Sean Diver and Matt McKeegan. Both well known, both, I'm sure everyone listening to this probably has an idea who they are. If they don't, probably check them out and you'll see they're doing some good shit. Matt in the 105, Sean in the 105 as well, and in the opens. They have a massive base built from bodybuilding. And what you do in bodybuilding, you do a lot of volume, you do a lot of variation of lifts, and you're just, again, you're building your body essentially. But they do a lot of work on every angle of their body, but you can transfer well into strongman. So like, just take those two as an example. You wouldn't look at what they're doing right now as a young lad and copy them.
No.
You might look at what they've done in the earlier years and do something similar where you've done a lot of volume. You done a lot of volume when you first started as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, you came more direct into it, more maybe through the powerlifting routes.
Yeah.
But maybe you would look at what they did in the early days. Compounds, a lot of volume, and sprinkle some events in there now if you're a budding strongman and that's where you want to go. Don't look at Cillein doing singles every other week, or Ayshea doing singles every other week, or Sean or Matt, or any of these people, like, you know.
You're not going to do that. Like,
you're not going to do that, no. Like, now you didn't come from bodybuilding, he came from more powerlifting, and you done a bit of powerlifting too, didn't you?
I was kind of, when I started gym, it was mainly just like between like kind of more like power building and rugby, I guess.
So you would have been doing a lot of volume.
Yeah.
And like in the early days of my programs with G, it was so much volume.
All volume.
It was all, you know, and that's laying the foundation that you now have, you now have a need to produce the performances you are now at international levels. So yeah, no, it's a really good point. It's not to look at what you're doing now. It's
look at like the whole process beforehand.
Yeah. And like, I'm sure if you look at most of the top strongmen and women around the country, they'd have a large base built from something else.
Some other sports that they've done for years.
Oftentimes, because like strongman's fairly new.
Yeah.
People are often coming from other things. I mean, you have years of martial arts behind you as well.
Yeah.
You know, you done track and field when you were in school as well. You didn't just happen to pick up a weight.
Yeah.
We know there's
even though you started late in life.
But generally, yeah.
So yeah, anything else then on saving bad sessions, lads?
I think it's like, you know, if you, so you know, you're pulling back and stuff like, but you know, making sure that like your recovery's in right before things. And if it's the case that you genuinely feel terrible and you've got like a really heavy session, maybe look to kind of maybe put it off a day, get yourself kind of like refueled and just kind of rest it off, like, because especially if you go for something heavy and you don't want to like risk getting an injury for the sake of it. Again, like that's learning how to know when to push and kind of when to pull back on things.
I suppose the good example of that would have been my session on Saturday, actually, because I've been on and off sick and everything else has been happening over the past like 4 weeks. And I was doing 3 5s on deadlifts and we'd kind of gone around 60%. So I was working out about 140 to 145. And I was actually on the platform with Dave, and Dave was like, "So you're going heavier?" And I was like, "No, I'm actually not." Now, a couple of years back, I would have gone, yeah, I want to go heavier. You know, I knew that I wasn't 100% still. My science slapped me. I wanted to get a good session in. And I know I would have loved to have gone balls to the wall and done some really heavy deadlifts, but then I would have been completely fucked and fried for the rest of my session.
Yeah.
So to me, that was the bonus. A week, say Tuesday or Thursday of last week, it was, let's see how the session goes. Let's get through the session, get everything done that I need to do, and then see. And I just went over and threw some sand back up to shoulder in my own time. So I wasn't actually setting myself up, I suppose, in one sense for a failure.
Yeah.
To go, I'm going to try and get through this entire session. I suppose Matt was aware of that as well. And knowing how I work now after all these years, you know, it's better for me to do what's in my own mind and push myself, because I know I will when I can.
Yeah.
But whereas, like I said, a few years back, I would have just tried to really soldier on through the session, which is fine. That has its own place as well.
Yeah.
But it's not now for you.
Not now.
So it's knowing your place and where you are at the moment, so that you don't.
Yeah.
Because like if you went in and try and do a load of heavy sessions now, back to back, you're going to have loads of bad sessions because you're not ready for it right now.
But 3 years back, 4 years ago, even, so anyone who's in that stage now where they might be a year or two into their journey, is I would actually encourage you to try and soldier through as much as you can.
Yeah.
Because the other side of that is you're building mental toughness.
Yeah.
You're building, and that's where a lot of that comes from. Then you can actually go, okay, I can draw on that and go, I went through a really shit session because I was feeling like an ass, but I got it done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my approach to.
I think another thing people could do as well is talk to their coach as well. Like
be honest.
You know, like again, we're lucky we all train together. And if you're feeling terrible, you can come to me and go, okay, well, we're at this stage, and in this session, you could actually change it up, focus on technique per se, and work on that. Or I could say to you, no, lads, this isn't time for the shit.
Yeah.
Power on. You know, and you know that's something. I've done that to plenty of people, like. But there are times where no, it's not the time to power on, but we can pull it back a little bit. It's that week where we're pulling back things to touch. And like if you're dealing with an online coach or someone that's not there in person, I think you just need to get onto them early in the day if you know you're feeling shitty or just I don't know. I know actually some of the feedback forms I've got from other athletes. I ask people for feedback. They'd like to, at the beginning of a block, sit down and talk about what we're doing for the rest of the block. So I think at that point, maybe, and this is where I could improve as a coach, is map out that these days are to be heavy and hard. and we need a really tough stimulus here.
Yeah.
And if you need to pull back any days, these are your days for technique. And maybe that's something we could do early in a block with people.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea. Just kind of know themselves.
Just so they have an idea themselves of when they actually need to really push on.
Yeah.
No matter what, like.
No matter what, yeah. So they
there
prepare
are them,
for it then.
Yeah, there are them days.
Yeah. Okay. So like, you know, early in the training cycle, you can afford to kind of pull back, work your technique and your compounds, and push your accessories. Then later in the training cycle, you've got to really push your compounds, and then you can afford to pull back on your accessories. Because you're not going to gain any strength from your accessories in the last few weeks. Like it's more, it's just more just keeping the blood in the muscles. Like so, kind of like it flips.
It inverts.
It inverts either way. So it's more about knowing what to push at what time.
At what time? Yeah. So again, like maybe that's something if you're listening to this, you could ask your coach about and communicate with them before you go into your training week or your training block or whatever way you do things. Yeah. That could definitely help.
Yeah. So like the more information you give to your coach, the better they can coach you. Because like even with my own clients, like you literally got to drag it out of them. And so you'd rather like I much prefer like if people are giving me lots of information and sending me lots of things, like instead of like waiting until after the session to tell me that they were feeling bad all day and they still try to force themselves to do it, like which is communication very much important.
Absolutely,
like this.
Absolutely. And like I'm sitting here with two of the worst communicators, like coach. Funny enough, with Cillein saying that. Well, he's not anymore. He's getting better. I think since he started coaching himself a lot, he's seeing it. But I've noticed down through the years, the strongest people tend to not be the best communicators. But in fairness, you do know your bodies at the stage.
And we tend to get on with it.
But you, in fairness, know when it's important to pull back and not to push on. But communication is massively important. So like, I have had years of frustration with G2 not communicating enough to me, especially if I haven't been around like for sessions. And you're going, what's going on here? Why is no one telling me what's happening? All tends to be fine, though, in fairness.
Okay, next one.
Next topic, conditioning for strongman.
Yeah.
So,
Eating donuts.
Eating donuts,
so this is the one I actually spoke to the crew that were here the last day. Like one of the lads, he's under 90, not a pick a fat man. He ran 2 10-meter lengths with a sandbag. So 60 kilo down, ran back, caught the 8 kilo, brought it down and stopped the yoke. He was absolutely fried. I was like, this is not good enough. Like you're not. It's not like you're carrying a lot of weight here.
No. It's like you're not doing a max distance.
Exactly. Yeah, like he was completely worn out. Like so, that's just not good enough. So what I said to them is, looking at the events coming up, they've got 2 max distance events in the 60-second time limit. So what you want to be doing there is 45 to 60-second conditioning.
Yeah.
And in my eyes, no more than that. Because if you're, say the 3 lads I was talking to, their body composition will be pretty good. They don't particularly need to lose a lot of weight, so they need to focus on the time scale of the event. Whereas if you're someone like myself at the moment who needs to lose weight, steady state is no harm whatsoever because you need to get that fat off and it'll help you do that. And it's not as harsh on the joints. But like one of the lads, like I said, that was there that died on the medley. I've given him a salt bike to do twice a week now. Yeah, but it's just to start, it's 20 seconds on. I think it's 40 seconds rest.
Okay.
All out for 20 seconds,
okay.
and or something along the lines of that, 5 rounds of it. And that's it. See, it's quick and easy. You can get it done. But I'm reducing the rest then every session.
I'll give you a prime example of that. JG.
Who's JG?
John Ginty.
John
Jadders.
Oh, right.
One of our very own.
I will never forget when we first got the assault bike in, and 2 years ago probably. And the first time we got up on that assault bike, I thought he was going to fucking die. And I say he went out and threw up. It's close to it I've ever seen him. But look at him now.
He's so like he's pushed his conditions so hard.
Look at him now. Do you know what I mean? And that was the assault bike.
Yeah.
That was like going at it and going at the assault bike. And I remember him looking at it sideways and we were saying, no, John, it's actually really good. And
it's one of my favorite bits of kit to just go all out on for conditioning because it doesn't beat the joints up at all.
Yeah.
You know, it's off-feet conditioning. It's very easy on the body. So it destroys it. For the heavier people, it's really, really good.
Yeah.
Of course, then we need to add some specific stuff. So you need to do your sandbag carries for conditioning and even farmers for this, sleds and stuff.
Drags and
pulls, but like knowing what to do is important. Like if you're way overweight and it's affecting performance, like you're just carrying a lot of fat, I think steady state is no harm whatsoever. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever you have to do to get your steps up and to get a lot of movement going, because you just need to lose weight. That's going to help performance. But if you're not one of them people, I think like if you don't need to lose weight and your conditioning sucks, 30, 45, 60 second intense. And it has to be intense.
Has to hurt.
It has to hurt.
Has to hurt, yeah.
If you want to see change if you want to see change in your shoulders, you want to see your shoulders grow, your accessories have to hurt, and your dumbbell pressing has to hurt, your military press has to hurt. But you're not going to see change otherwise.
No.
It's the exact same with conditioning.
Yeah.
It's
that's why like, especially if you're somebody who's starting off in strongman and strongwoman and you're at a low body weight, it'd be very good just to kind of really push your conditioning now, because it's much easier to get stronger, and it's even if you lose your strength, it's much easier to gain your strength back. But it's much harder to gain your conditioning, and if you lose it, it's much harder to get it back. But you don't have like the same benefits of muscle memory. It goes very quickly. It goes really, really quickly. And I feel like, especially in like strongman and strongwoman now, I feel having good conditioning really is what makes the difference. I feel like you've got so many statically strong people, and then you got a load of fit people, and you need to be kind of somewhere, kind of like in the middle of that. Like,
and like I think it's really important as well to look at the events you have coming up. I remember, I don't know what competition it was, but last year, I think it was Mary Maria. At one stage, I was like, "Your two are going to stop conditioning now. Your conditioning is just what you have for your events," because it was a very static comp. I can't remember what it was, and I was like, "You need to be statically very strong right now. Doing loads of conditioning isn't going to help you, and you're already quite fit. So whatever little bit of conditioning you're getting out of your whatever medley, maybe that's it. You're done. After that, you work on speed. You want to do some running. You can do some sprints, maybe." Just to help, the back and forth in between bags or whatever medley implements you're doing, and just focus on your lifting. But it's not often I say that, but for some people, they need to stop doing it. Their conditioning's already really high levels. There's something in the competition that they're going to be training that'll maintain it, and they need to get stronger. Then but that's, again, it's a rare case, I would say that. You need to do it nearly all year round, like.
Do conditioning?
Because you're a big guy, you're holding a good bit of weight.
Even
not bad weight,
but just for your health.
Even just for your health.
That's the other side of it, is to understand that there's one thing we've said this before about stuff that you do for your sport, but ultimately it should be your health that you're looking at.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have a love of the sport, but if you look at all of the top big strongmen now, and even strong women, like they've started to lean up and get lighter and get more conditioned, because they understand now, even in the space of 3 years, I'm probably seeing it, that the mindset has really changed. And being a big hot mess just because you're statically strong means shit. Because actual strongman, you need to be fitter, faster, and strong. So I think understanding that perspective, but that's more from a health perspective. A lot of those people made those decisions.
But then in turn they get better performances as well.
Better quality of life.
Like if you're healthier, you're going to recover better. You can recover better, you can train more and perform better.
Totally.
It's simple, really. When you think about it. Like,
I feel like for a long time it was just that attitude of just being a big, heavy strength athlete. Like that was it. Like, there was no
shit, being fat and strong.
There's no real thought into the importance of the cardiovascular system.
But if you look at who's winning worlds now, even like the men's side there, Novikov, Tom, the last 2 years, our teams before that, they were never very big fat men. Like.
No.
They could move, they could run fast, they were conditioned, and they were strong at the same time. And that's the new formula to being the best strongman you can be. I can't see anyone like you go back to 5-6 years ago, Big Z at Worlds with the big belly. Like he still has a big belly, God love him, and he was the best strongman of all time. Don't get me wrong, lads. But just that big belly coming to mind. I don't see anyone with that big tank sitting out in front of them winning Worlds strongest man anytime.
Not with the way the sport is.
But that's because, like I said, it's evolved, and it's a different breed of sport. It's a different breed of strongman and strongwoman that's coming through. And it's evolution. That's exactly what it is. And if you were to even go back, then I was going to say it's like a 360. Because if you go back to the Thomas Sandow and like back in the day, and Louis Cyr, them lads weren't big lumps.
No, they weren't.
And they came from a bodybuilding, like we said, more of a bodybuilder's. It was a physique.
Very athletic.
Yeah, it was athletic. So it's almost as if we're starting to go back to the original.
As it was.
It seems to do a bit of a loop, doesn't it? Like, and hopefully it stays like this, because we are seeing the best of
it. So like even like in the early 2000s, it was very much fast-paced, lighter weights, and then then once after he left, it got very statically heavy, and now you got somewhere in between the two, where it's very statically heavy, but also you need to be able to be quick and move well.
Which is good, because you don't necessarily need to be the biggest guy to win.
No,
but the biggest guy can also win.
He can also win.
You know what I mean?
Like you also have someone who's Novikov, who's 6'1".
Yeah.
And 135 kilos.
135 kilos. Like that. versus Tom, who's like a monster.
6'9",
Yeah, it's about nearly 200 probably, is he? Or 180, 190?
He's in 186 or something.
186. It's like there's two massively different men like that can win, one year or another.
Same event, yeah.
It's very impressive, and it does lean towards the most rounded winning.
Coming back to conditioning, is there a specific time in the training plan, I suppose, would you say would it be most beneficial for people to throw their conditioning
in the week or in the
in the week?
In the week.
To make it most benefit, I suppose.
Like could you have like a conditioning session as a form of like active recovery?
Conditioning done right for strongman, no.
Yeah. Okay.
You could do a steady state cardio for people that, say, the heavy people that need to lose weight kind of a thing, but that's going to act as active recovery. But if you want to do conditioning right, it has to hurt. And if it has to hurt, it's going to eat into your recovery. So if we come in here on our days off and go absolutely apeshit on the assault bike, or even do some sandbag carries or sled drags, and again, like, it has to hurt, like we said, that's going to eat into your recovery for your next session that's coming up. That might be heavy. So I would say at the end of your session is the best time to do it. Yeah. So, and I don't think it has to be on a lower body day or anything. I mean, you could do it at the end of an upper body day. And sometimes at the end of the lower body days, you're so fucked. And you might have done like, squats, deadlifts, summit steps, 2 events. You might be absolutely fried. If you have some life in you, I think it's a good time to hop up on a bike, absolutely, and just hammer yourself a little bit. And on then your upper body priority days, or Thursdays or day 4s, you could definitely do some more. And then you could throw in some sled drags and stuff on that day.
Yeah.
You have another day off then before next session. This is the way we operate anyway.
I think my favorite form of conditioning, you can't do it in the gym, but would be just go down to the sea and then kind of take a few deep breaths, and then just take one big deep breath, and then you just swim, and you just swim as fast and as long as you can on the one breath, and then kind of submerge up. But it's hard. It is hard. But I kind of see it's kind of more kind of like trying to replicate strongman. You're trying to do as much with as little as actually you can. Yeah. But again, like, it's kind of hard to do that and recover.
It is, and like, you just have to be smart about it. It's like, I think, like, again, like on our upper body days, if you're struggling for recovery, some off-feet conditioning is probably going to be the best. And like, that's where you're an assault bike or a regular bike kind of a thing or something like that, because it's just easier on the body, it's easier on the joints. So it depends on where you're at as well, lads. For the people that are in really good, like, physical shape, no injuries, no niggles, you can go drag a sled around. I would say someone that's a little bit battered, do some off-feet conditioning.
I know, like, on the days how I'm feeling, if I want to just finish off and push, I'll skip.
You skip
or a slam book, I'll do hard round to skip in the slam books. Mary be the same, battle ropes. Just pull them out and just finish off. Even on the days that you feel like you don't want to do fuck all. And you're not able for like a big sled drags or anything like that. That's what we do.
You should have like an alternative that, like, if you're feeling bad, so this is one that you actually kind of like doing. It isn't like completely.
And that's a good point. Conditioning is really hard. Most people don't like doing it. Try and find something you enjoy, because you're most likely to do that on the days you're feeling bad as well. If you're always doing shit you don't like I love the assault bike, and I actually really like conditioning stuff. I like challenging myself. I like picking the distance and just going for it. But if you really, really hate that,
I don't like.
Maybe save that for the day you're feeling good, and on the day you're feeling bad, do something something you kind of like. And it might just help with the motivation side of it. And the other thing about being a really well-conditioned athlete, as far as like aerobically goes, if you're doing a competition that's really fast-paced and it's going to be 2 to 3 hours long, if you're essentially just fitter, I would say fitter, you're going to recover quicker between the events versus the athlete who's not in shape. So if you're you're very fit, right? For strongman, your conditioning is really good, and you're doing a fucking 5-event show in 2 hours. You're got the same stats as someone else. He's the same deadlift, same qualities as far as moving goes, and same pressing strength. But you're a lot fitter than he is. He's going to dwindle off by the end of it. He's going to start dropping points and coming back places where he should be scoring higher because he can't recover between the events. He's still fried from 2 events ago. Whereas if you're a lot better conditioned, you're going to be recovering better, and you're just going to keep going at that good pace the whole day, or for the whole 2-3 hour competition.
Just with the way competitions go now, they are very much high paced. Very fast.
They're fast. Like,
so even at Ireland, things like after tire flip, we're still out of breath, still pumped up in the tire flip, and then having to warm up for deadlifts, because deadlifts were starting 10 or 15 minutes.
You didn't really warm up though, like, give them time.
Like worked up to 175 for like 2 singles.
I think you done 120 for like a couple of reps.
Yeah, the
You and
170
Giver,
Yeah,
and you done 170 for like a
Right.
double or
and then opened up
whatever.
300 then.
Yeah, because you were just so fucked. You hadn't had the
Fucked,
time to warm up. Like that's how fast-paced these shows are. I spoke to Pat Dwyer about a Giants live show a while back, and he said he had just done one event, got a suit on, about to go into like 60 or 100 kilos just to start warming up, and they're like, "Pat, you're out." So he had absolutely no time to go pull. What's the Giants like 340, 360 kind of on the axle, and he was just like, "Fuck, okay."
Yeah.
So he didn't warm up at all. So like you have to be conditioned so you can recover quick from the previous event, so that you can actually start warming up if you have a chance of warming up, or just to be ready for the next event.
Even kind of, I suppose the same we even go with like powerlifting. I remember even like kind of with like Bobby when he was getting warmed up, he done 180. Well, he was 180 for his last warm up, and just as he was about to unrack it, here's his name getting called out for 190. So squats 180, and then jogs out to the platform, and then squats 190 within the space of like a minute.
Yeah.
So it's, and like lucky he's a very well conditioned powerlifter.
Very well.
Yeah. Most other people that would have broke them. Like.
It would have killed them.
Yeah.
It absolutely would have killed them.
Okay.
So yeah, I think.
Performance condition.
I think so. Yeah, I think be conditioned is the.
Yeah, and just do it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
most of us don't like it, but
yeah,
we kind of have to.
A lot of people just don't do it.
No, they just don't do
They
it.
just don't.
They don't understand it. I think, and they need to understand it.
Yeah, and I like there's a big difference. Like one thing I was coming to say to myself last while, there's a big difference between losing to somebody who's stronger than you and losing to somebody because they outworked you.
Yeah.
Because if you can work harder and you can beat that person, that's within your control. But if it's just genuinely the case that person's just a better athlete, so you need to like going in like knowing that you've done absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And like whatever happens, like the better man will win at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And be specific kind of with your times as well on conditioning. It's a really important thing. It's like a simple analogy is sprinters don't run marathons for training. They won't run 5Ks because that'll slow them down. If we train to be conditioned for 3 minutes, we're now training to be moving slower over 3 minutes rather than be fast in 60 seconds or 40 seconds. So be specific with your time.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to be too specific with the work you do, but that timeline is important.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I think we've barely covered conditioning there. Anyway, and the last one is something actually I wanted to bring up. Comes from a conversation I had with one of our athletes last Saturday. So it's kind of positive versus negative mindset on a lift. So every time for the last probably a couple of months, this athlete has spoke about her deadlift. She has been negative about it. I've never heard her speak positively about it for a long time. It's always been, my deadlift's really crap, my deadlift is this, my deadlift's that. Now, any female out there that can deadlift over 180 kilos is not weak.
No, that's
a strong woman.
That's like most guys can't.
Most guys can't deadlift
180
yeah.
kilos.
So we have to, there has to be some understanding about where you're at. But if you're always walking into a gym and saying, and she always was saying, my deadlift sucks, my deadlift is bad, my deadlift is poor, I'm crap at deadlift, you're never going to get good at it because your attitude is in the wrong place. If you always think that something's going to be bad, it's never going to get good. So I literally brought her into the office after deadlifts went terribly and spoke her through like this whole thing of being negative. And you have to just start speaking positively. And like this is something we've done years ago with another athlete at the bench. She always walked into the gym saying her bench sucks, her bench sucks. So the attitude has to change and go, I love bench. My bench is great. And it actually just started progressing from nothing changed in the program. Like I said to this girl last day, I was like, I can't do anything with your program to make you a better deadlifter. There is no program in the world that can fix your deadlift if you don't change your mindset.
Yeah.
Technically you're fine. The program is progressive. It's got light days, it's got heavy days. It's the same, same kind of general model as everyone else we coach that's doing well. It's not, there's nothing I can do for you.
Yeah.
Other than help you change your mindset. I said, I don't want to hear a negative word about your deadlift again.
Yeah.
I said, nothing negative. And I joke with her, like I said, I'm going to squirt you with a squirt bottle in the face if you say something negative about your But she has cats and she does the same thing to her cat on the phone. She tries to squirt it. So I said, I'm going to do what you do to your cats to you if you speak anyway negatively about your deadlift. And like, it's just, so I want to understand your opinion on that. Because I've never actually heard you be I never heard you speak like that about any lift. If anything from the two of you, your goals are way out there. Like, you've always spoke about how you can do anything.
Yeah.
And I never really heard you put limits on yourselves. And even you at 46 at the moment, as a master's athlete, you don't see yourself not getting stronger.
No.
You still want to squat 220, or not, you just want to 240, sorry.
Yeah. Exactly. I want to go back to powerlifting and knock all those numbers out the fucking park.
You want to knock all numbers out, but you still talk about benching 100 kilos out.
Yeah.
You know, you're not. There's no talk of anything being poor or anything staying the way it is, and you have like massive goals.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know where I'm even going with this,
Yeah.
but what are your thoughts on this? You know, me saying you have to take a positive mindset towards it.
I think I
or
said,
stop being negative.
I think I said this the last day. There's one thing about disliking them, right? Like I really dislike sandbags. Everyone knows how much I dislike sandbags, but I know I can do them. It never phases me to say, I know that I could get 100 kilo sandbag to my shoulder, and I did it numerous times. It was a fight to get there, but it was never a case of me saying, I can't do this. This is not going to get better. And I don't know if that comes like, I suppose at the moment, of course, we're doing a lot of sports psychology, so I'm starting to learn the actual technical things of what it is that we do, that's in our heads that we're doing anyway. I can't say how we got there. I can't say how you're in a mindset and I'm in a mindset that's different to that person with regards to their deadlift. I don't know if it's a case of we like that. We're so focused on just striving on and just being the best that we can be, regardless of what anyone else is doing, which I think is another thing. Because sometimes, like I know Ford says to that person, if she's in the gym with somebody who she's trying to lift as close to that person, and like I have a 240 deadlift, 250 in suit. So I can imagine what it's like to go, oh, it's this, but it actually isn't. It needs to be. I would flip it and go, well, if she can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the difference is understanding that unless you have a physical limitation that cannot be corrected, and even then, I still believe that you can make small steps of progress for yourself. Unless you have something that's physically stopping you, there is no limit. But you have to have that in your head that there is no limit. If you put a limit on something, then you're always going to see it as being a negative issue.
Yeah.
That I can't do this. This isn't getting better. And then fuck it, it's not going to get better because you're telling yourself.
Yeah, your mind's going to stop.
Yeah. And I think personally for me, I know the log, again, I would have had a love-hate relationship with the log, and I always use this as an example. For 18 months, I videoed. I'd come in on my own, and I'd video my clean, and I'd look at my cleaner, and all of a sudden, after 18 months, it clicked. And for a lift, then I was never negative about it. I never said this is not going to get better. I was going to say, how can I make this better? What am I doing that needs to change? And I think that's where the self-reflection, and I kind of try to get people to do when I'm coaching them, is say, video your sets, and as soon as you've done it, look back on it.
Yeah.
Do the next one. Look back at it. Are you doing the basic things that you've been taught by me to do? Right? If you're not doing those, go back and do that checklist. If you're doing those, okay, what's wrong? Is it your approach? When you approach the bar, are you approaching the bar? You can actually physically see in people, and I think that person as well. You could see in that person when they approach the bar. And we've had this conversation.
And there was another.
Defeated.
Yeah, and there was another addition to, like, I suppose, the technical side of things with this person as well, where they would sometimes warm up very slowly. They wouldn't. There was no intent.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or explosiveness.
Yeah, moving with intent.
They were moving very slowly, and next thing they'd pull 100, 120 kilos and go, oh my god, it feels so heavy. Oh, crap, a deadlift, and then they'd be failing.
Yeah,
and that's not the only
failing
person.
80%
Funnily
type
enough,
stuff.
there is a couple of people I know who have that mentality, and it's trying to get into the head to actually say, it's you. It's not.
It's not.
It's not me. It's
It's
you.
you.
No,
Yeah.
it's not the
Literally,
deadlift.
that's what I did.
Yeah.
In a roundabout way, it's not me, it's you.
Yeah, and again, a lot of self-work has to be done because it's negative talk, and it's negative talk to yourself. And there's a lot of work around that, and a lot of stuff out there that you can look at. I know people. There's motivational talks and stuff, and some of that can be really shit and just too hoorah.
Yeah.
But then there's some really good stuff.
Some
Actually, it's how you talk to yourself about this thing.
Yeah.
And if it's something that you love, and I know that person loves the sport, and I know she effectively loves certain aspects of the sport, that she needs to learn to have this love for that lift. And that for anyone is to go flip it on its head and go, okay, I may not be the strongest at this. I may not particularly like it, but I know I can do it.
Yeah.
And I know I can progress.
And I'm not bad at it.
And I'm not bad.
Yeah. Like you said, it's just that was my big conversation with her, was just to gotta be more positive. Like, I never heard her say anything negative about squats or overhead presses. They're all progressing perfectly. Lovely, you know. It's just, but it's nearly always, negative talk about deadlift. So I thought we just got to switch that literally in the spray bottle if we have to.
Yeah.
Have you had any experience with that, Cillein?
I guess kind of for me, I always kind of just like look back and kind of like when I started training and like compare to kind of where I am now, because I kind of feel like when you kind of get to a certain level and things are feeling difficult, it is very easy to kind of forget how far you've actually come. And if I kind of went back to the beginning and somebody showed me what I was doing now, like I probably wouldn't believe it. So I always kind of like keep that in mind. And I think over the last few years, I've kind of just like took the attitude of learning to just like accept doing things that you don't like. It's kind of the same thing with going into the cold water. It's like if I by choice make myself go into this freezing cold water, then it's just like then doing other things kind of become like a little bit easier. So you kind of I feel like the more you kind of put yourself in those uncomfortable situations, it makes it a lot easier. And even though like I may hate an event, I hate losing more. So that's kind of the biggest thing. Like I hate losing. Like it's not so much I love winning. I just hate losing. So it's just like that. I hate losing more than I would hate having to like make myself do something like that I didn't want to do. So I kind of feel like you need to kind of have like a good enough reason to be doing those things.
And would you kind of say like we're saying about the bad versus like I was just thinking about that, like I always used to say my bench. I said my bench was always weak, right?
Yeah.
But I never said it was bad.
Yeah.
And I always kind of said to myself, I remember when
You never said I'm a crap bencher.
I don't think I ever said I was a crap bencher. No, I said like it's just weak and I want it to be stronger. How do I make it stronger?
Yeah.
Like it's never. And if I ever said I was crap at anything, it was probably purely off the cuff remark rather than me actually thinking I was crap at it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think it's like that. It's like learning to push it forward rather than just saying it's a bad lift of mine or it's a bad event for me. That it's not my strongest.
Yeah.
But it can be better.
It can be better. Yeah.
Do you know?
And sometimes it's just that you just don't understand what you actually have to do doing it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because I mean, like the way I see it is like if somebody else has already done it, it's doable for anybody to do. And like I feel like it's just really kind of comes down to just like, like especially when you come up to like a higher level, it's kind of more just like technique and mindset that can actually. And I know people's biomechanics definitely make certain people better at certain lifts, but like I think it's like bullshit that like somebody can't do something just because they feel like they can't do it. Like I mean, like as I said, if one person's done it, anybody can do it. And like I mean, like world records are constantly being broken each year. So it's just like I don't really think that there is a cap on the overall potential that humans can actually do.
And I think as well, like looking at, I was just thinking, and the other thing is, if you're lifting 100 kilos like dog shit, that's a bad deadlift.
Yeah.
That's a bad lift.
Yeah.
Do you mean if you're stronger than that and you're pulling 100 kilos like shit, or if that's your max?
No, like no. If you're stronger than that and you're pulling 100 kilos like dog shit and you look like you're gonna break your spine, that's bad deadlift.
Yeah,
that's bad deadlift. Yeah, that's fair enough.
That's my idea. If I'm gonna call it bad deadlift, I go shit. That was a bad deadlift.
If it's 50% of your max and you're pulling it like shit.
Yeah, then that's a bad deadlift. But if you can look at it and go, well, okay, technically and physically there's nothing wrong with me. Technically I'm fine, but there's obviously something not clicking. It's your mental approach to it, and it's like I said, that negative self-talk, and that's one of the biggest issues I think that puts an awful lot of athletes out. They might, and you see the flip side of it, they might have fantastic gym lifts because they're so positively talking to themselves in the gym, and then as soon as they get to competition, it's a negative talk of I don't need to be here, like imposter syndrome. So expanding from a lift perspective, you have to. It's how you talk to yourself. At the end of the day.
Yeah, I remember I was telling you, I think I told you both about it. Like I went to the Irish S&C conference last year, and oh God, I can't even remember his name now, but he said the god of periodization for Irish S&C, essentially. Like, but he spoke about like all these studies where they would take twins, and one twin would have this mindset towards something, another one have another different one, and they would get completely different results, but they would do the same program, and they would do all these different tests on people that were just alike. And the only thing that was different was the mentality. The overall result of his studies, I suppose, he hasn't written any papers on it, but all his research put together in a PowerPoint presentation was that if you say something in your mind, it sends signals to that place to do a certain thing. So say if you have a tear in your quad and you're sending all the signals in your mind down through your body, it goes into your quad to send blood there to recover, essentially. And it was just kind of the whole presentation just blew me away because I started thinking back to again all these people, other people, not this certain person we're talking about today, but that had the negative about certain things, and it just wouldn't work for them. Like I have a really good friend who was into bodybuilding, right? He was competing in bodybuilding. Always had his biceps were shit, biceps are small, can't grow biceps. He would train biceps once a week heavy, then he would try training 4 times a week. He tried everything you could imagine. You know who he is.
I do, yeah.
And he could never grow biceps. But if you were to listen to this presentation and, Dr. John Kiley, that's who it was. If you were to listen to this presentation and then think back to that, you're going to go, how can he ever grow biceps? Even if he trains them as hard as he wants, if he's telling his mind that he can't grow biceps, the man never grew good biceps, I have to say. He could grow nearly every other body part could, but could never grow good biceps. And he'd always say, like, I can grow massive forearms from working and stuff. And he had these fucking big clobbers and forearms. Should have been a strongman now, in fairness. I always say it to him. But again, the back to this presentation that Kylie's on, it was all about how if you say something in your mind, you're sending the signals throughout your body for that thing to either happen or not happen, whether it be recovering from an injury or growing a certain body part. And again, that comes back to my muscle connection, the bodybuilders always talk about.
It's a neurological response, right?
It is,
basically, we're learning about this. I've been doing some research on this myself as well, and it's really, really interesting because when you look at the research that's been done around visual imagery, and when people talk about visualization, which is just seeing a picture of you being successful, but actual real self-imagery is when you're in the moment. And we've spoken about this before in a previous podcast, where you can smell the sweat and the chalk and feel the bar in your hand, and you're physically not even there, right? So when you take that, and they actually have shown that what that does is when you replay in your mind over and over again the correct pattern of doing something, that neural pathways actually respond. So you're setting it. So not just doing it in the gym. And I've been trying to explain this to people who have been coaching, that setting those neural pathways are expand far away out here. And I was actually talking to somebody who trains here. I think they came to speak to you afterwards, and you know who I'm talking about as well, about the approach that this person has to wanting to be a strongman. And understanding that just the 1 hour that you do here is not the be all and end all of you becoming a successful athlete, right? And I'm not just going to say strongman, I'm going to say athlete as well.
It goes for any sport, really, doesn't it?
And I'll even take back to bring it to myself with the bicep tear. And when I tore the first bicep, we didn't know it was actually a bicep tear, and I continued to exercise.
We knew it was a tear, but we didn't know it was a rupture.
We didn't know it was a tendon rupture. And we rehabbed it the same way. But what we did was, because of neural pathways and neurological response, I exercised my good arm with doing, say, rows and bicep curls, and gradually, even just going through the movement with no weight, just reenacting the movement with the injured arm, and then gradually, as we went along, just increasing. And I really believe that all of the fact that I've healed so well was to do with the neural pathways of what I was doing and how I was encouraging it to heal and to get better. And say a lot of that is, like I said, it's that mind, what you tell yourself. So it has a much bigger effect than just in your head, the little voice telling you your deadlift shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You gotta have the right approach to it all. That's why even like watching Dave, especially he treats an empty bar the same way as he would his max lift. Like it's set up, he's got everything on. And you can see it in his face. Like he'd be going up with just the empty bar. But the look on his face, you swear he's going to go, like he's on the platform, ready to go, kind of thing. Like,
And he's not going insane or anything.
No.
But there's such focus on how he approaches an empty bar, and how seriously he takes his technique when he squats an empty bar. Yeah. It's the exact same as when he's 180 on it, or when he's got wraps on.
And you never really see. I can't even remember time I've seen Dave fail a lift in the gym. To be honest with you,
it was a long time ago, and he got really mad.
I'm just thinking about that. Right? Do you think as well, it's with some people, it's far easier to go, my lift is bad, than actually put the work into being focused and to not worry about who's looking at you or what's going on in the gym. Like you go through your checklist, because I know I don't give a shit. Like I will literally, I'm going through my checklist.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who is there. Is it far easier if things aren't going right to go, it's just bad, my deadlift's so bad, or my bench is so bad, or whatever.
Quick way out.
Yeah, rather than go, right, okay, it's not bad. It's going to take me time, and I have to put in the effort to actually work out what I need to do. Like I said, 18 months of trying to effectively clean the log was 18 months of every time I logged, looking back, reflect. That's not easy for some people to do. It would have been far easier for me to go, my log's really bad.
Yeah, it's accepted that way.
It could also be for some people, again, like with the negative stuff, just not having the knowledge of realizing what they're doing to themselves. And maybe they don't realize that they're actually sending themselves on a bad path, backwards because they're speaking negative self-talk. Maybe that could also be it, like, and that's
putting too much pressure.
Yeah,
but like, there's putting pressure on yourself to get things done, and there's like putting pressure on yourself to the point where you're actually just like crippling yourself.
Yeah,
and that's why I always think, like, if I started Strongman with the mentality of wanting to become a professional strongman, I think in the long run I probably would have just slowed myself down, because I would have had been so much pressure on myself, and probably would have got frustrated so much along the way that, like,
where you're at all the time.
And except then mentally I probably would have just like floored myself instead of just like taking a step back, taking the pressure off yourself, and just getting things done right, regardless of what you have to do.
You know what could actually lean into like having better positive self-talk with stuff like that too, is having fun.
Yeah.
And remembering that you have to have a bit of fun with training. You have to enjoy your training a little bit, because most people aren't going to make any money out of it.
Oh, absolutely not.
You're probably the only two people in the gym that have got paid for competition.
I'd say we've won money for comp.
It was like 20 odd people training here between online and everything on Saturday, if not more. There's two people. Two people made money ever.
And we didn't make money.
We didn't make money.
Well, you didn't make money.
No,
you got given money for that competition.
If you look at it like that, we just got a bit of investment back on. Pay back on the investment for fucking 5 years.
They pay for a fraction of your physio food bills.
Literally, and that's what I think needs to be really understood. Like, all those trophies, or that trophy wall looks fabulous, right? It really does. And
don't diminish it now.
No.
I know where you're going with this.
And I can look back, and you can all look back, and people know me. But in 5 or 10 years' time, no one's going to know who the fuck I am or what I've done, unless you really love the sport. And I saw it in powerlifting so quickly that it moves so quickly that you're forgotten about. And I do think that's a big issue, where there's no respect for the history.
The history of things.
I do think that's a load of shit. But people need to understand that for the majority of you out there, you're not going to make money. The bit of cash you might get back from a competition will just get swallowed up into whatever you have to be doing it for the love and the fun of it. You'll get to travel.
You get to travel.
You pay for that.
You fundraise and pay for it.
To go on holiday to do Strongman.
Save all year for it. But it is having. You have to remember to have fun, and like not to let it go home with you either. If you do, like back to like, you know, how to save a bad session and have a negative mindset. If you come in with a negative mindset, have a bad session, and then you go home and you're a cunt all evening, like that's. What do you act like? You're not getting paid for this shit.
No.
One of our online guys, he was actually here Saturday, had a terrible training session a few weeks ago. He texted me, and I got back to him maybe a couple hours later. I said, it's one bad session in training cycle. Park it, forget about it, move on. The next session will probably be better. I was like, it's just one session out of what's going to be fucking 50 deadlift sessions this year. Just don't worry about it, man. It's not a big deal. He was tired from work from the week and everything. I go, thanks, I really need to hear that. I've been letting cunts since I got home. This lad has kids and a missus at home. It's not worth going home and being grumpy, because if you're in a bad mood, everyone else will feel that around you. And no one wants, like, your kids and your missus and don't want to be dealing with you. They don't give a shit about how much weight. They don't give a shit about how much weight you lift, like, especially if they're not doing it. Like, they don't care. They don't care if you had a bad session. So it's not worth bringing that with you around the place.
Ruining everybody else.
So
like we said there, we should be using it as therapy. If that's the case, you should be using it to expend that time. It's that time of that stress 1 hour, 2 hours that you have. That is purely for you, and that's where your focus should really be. And then no more than a lot of people take work home with them. But then you've got a lot of people who absolutely don't, when they clock out at 5, that shit's in the door. And that's the way it should be with the gym.
When you clock out the gym,
that's it. Clocked out. What's happened is happened.
It's not a bad way. Leave whatever shit you have outside the door when you come in. And when you're leaving, if you had a bad session, leave it in the fucking gym.
Leave it in the gym.
And if you had a great session, go tell everyone. Happy out, and then you're in great form. But if you had a bad one, park that shit in there. Leave it with your kit bag out in the back of the room.
Okay, I think that kind of wraps up.
I think it does, I think we've fairly got the shit out of all them subjects and gone a bit off topic from here and there, but sure, what harm. Guys, if you're enjoying these and you have any feedback for us, any topics you want us to talk about, please send them our way. We love feedback. We love hearing from people that are enjoying these and getting some benefit out of them.
I suppose as well, anything that's kind of going on in the strongman world with regards to competitions and stuff like that, throw it out there. You know, because we can end up going over the same stuff over and over again in different context otherwise. So if there's anything that's,
We should probably do a breakdown of competitions coming up.
we actually have a
should be,
calendar
yeah.
that's almost finished. I think
For
that's
the year, yeah.
from what we have coming out on AirSF, and I think one of the lads, there's other dates that people have put out, so we could actually go through what's coming up.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And chat about them a bit. Yeah, no harm.
Just so people know, like.
Just so people know exactly, and generally promote the sport all over. Like.
Yeah. Just so that people know the opportunities north, south, east. Well, there's nothing in the east really. So
No, it's not.
north, south, west, and a
West,
bit in the Midlands.
Yeah.
The east, you're a letdown,
Nothing,
lads.
yeah.
Come on. Now, in saying that, I've got a couple of ladies coming aboard who are based in the east of the country. Thank God we've got some. It seems to be really dominated by powerlifting.
Yeah.
Where we can have a nice mix down the northwest and southwest coast. Midlands and east is all powerlifting. It's like the country split in half when it comes to
We'll have to fix that one.
domination.
So yeah, that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, give us some feedback. We'll be back next week with another one.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Cool.
Bye.
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 Ouch.